Hello, everybody, and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle and to my latest episode of New Music Weekly, the show where I give you guys the latest prog news for the week, introduce you guys to some new prog singles, and give you updates on what's happening on the channel here on Nathan on Shuffle. It's a weekly feature as long as I'm available and free to do it. So more often than not, I'm here every Friday or Saturday talking about the latest prog news with you guys because it's something I really enjoy doing and I get really excited about what's coming up in the world of progressive rock. So I always like to start with some of the new releases of the weekend. We've got Arjen Lucassen's new album, Songs No One Will Hear. He's multi-instrumentalist, progressive rock and metal genius who is behind the Arion projects, where he brings a whole host of musicians, singers, all on board to do this big giant sci-fi concept record. This is more of his solo album, so it's mostly him singing. Of course, he has a couple of guests there, the Janssen sisters, and just an incredible work, more sci-fi concept storytelling, and I really enjoy this record, so definitely worth checking out, much in the same vein as his previous solo record that he put out, I believe back in like 2012 or something like that, so definitely one to check out and to enjoy. Between the Buried and Me have a new album, The Blue Nowhere. This is out on Inside Out Music, much more in the progressive metal vein, a generous use of harsh vocals, but a lot of cool, quirky elements to it. I'm considering doing a review of this one this week. Not really my typical wheelhouse, but I thought it might be an interesting episode to talk a little bit about my history with progressive metal and with harsh vocals and my feelings. Kind of a different take on a review, perhaps, using more of a discussion topic sounding board. But so that might be coming this week. I also really enjoyed the new Humphreys McGee album, Blueprints, which is pretty unique. It's an album of, from my understanding, they took improvised moments from their different concerts that fans voted on as the best moments, because they're a jam band and they do a lot of improvisation on their concerts, and they cobbled those together into these really expansive, interesting pieces of music. They, I believe, have been playing it live on the road to kind of test out the material, but it's kind of an interesting fusion of studio record plus live record almost in a weird hybrid, so I really enjoyed that record. C. Sarin has a new album called The World Outside. This is more of a traditional progressive metal album. Haven't really had the chance to listen to this completely, but I've heard good things about it, so I wanted to mention it as well. Let me know if there's other albums that came out this weekend that you're excited about, but those are some of the standouts that I am aware of. Getting into the prog news proper, one of the most exciting bits of news for me as a super fan of the band is that Spock announced their new album, The Archaeoptimist, and their first single, Invisible. This is just following their signing to the Madfish label, which is one of the most interesting pieces of this news to me because they've always traditionally been on Inside Out and have been one of the tentpole artists on that label, but I guess they have moved to a new label, to Madfish, and this new album's set to release on November 21st, and the press release says this sees the group at their effervescent and experimental best, delivering some of their finest work from a career spanning more than 30 years. I'm a huge super fan of Spock Spirit, followed them religiously for a long time. They're one of the first big modern bands that really struck me when I was getting into the prog scene, and I've been a diehard fan ever since, even after the devastating departure of Neil Morse, so I've also followed his career very extensively, and I'm a huge fan, but I like all the post-Neil Morse Spock Spirit stuff also. I thought Noise Floor, which was their previous release, which I believe was 2018, I want to say, so I think this is about 7 years later. I thought that was a great record from the band, maybe an underrated record. Not everybody was really talking about it as much as I was hoping at the time, but I think it's a super strong set of songs from the band and a great modern record. I've liked most of their stuff with Ted Leonard as frontman, their last few records. So he's the frontman once again here. The lineup is pretty familiar. Alan Morse on guitars and vocals, Dave Maros on bass, keyboards, vocals, Ryo Okamoto on keyboards and vocals, Ted Leonard on lead vocals, guitars, and keyboards, and Nick Potters is their drummer now, who I guess is the new member, so to speak. This is his first appearance, I believe, on a Spock's Beard studio record. So exciting to hear that they're forging ahead. I believe this record was largely written by Ryo Okamoto and Michael Whiteman, who collaborated together on Ryo's latest solo record, The Myth of the Mostraphus. So I imagine this album will probably have a similar sound and style to Myth of the Mostraphus, which I absolutely adored. I think it was a brilliant record. Ryo's solo record just really blew me out of the water a couple years ago when it came out, and I was hopeful that there was more collaboration ahead. And I almost wonder if like Ryo was working on his next solo album with Michael Whiteman, and they decided like, why not just develop this into a Spock's Beard record? That's kind of in my imagination how this all came about, but should be a really exciting record. Once again, there's a single out now called Invisible that can give you a taste for the record, which I really enjoyed the single as well. There's a big epic on the record, a 20-minute epic title track, and I'm really excited to hear what they've cooked up here. So that'll be a fun one to look forward to. November 21st. It's available for pre-order on a CD, DVD package with a 5.1 and stereo mixes. Also, black and red 2LP vinyl as well, so you can pick all that up, and should be a fun record to anticipate. I'll certainly be reviewing and talking about it since it's one of my all-time favorite bands, if you couldn't tell enough already. Secondly, I want to talk about Moon Safari, and they have announced their 20th anniversary tour for November and December of this year. I've mentioned dates popping up here and there, I believe, but just wanted to reiterate now that they've kind of solidified their full tour here about what they're doing. It's been 2 decades since the release of their debut record, Doorway to Summer, and they're back on the road with a 10-date tour following the success of last year's shows in Europe and Japan in support of Himmelbach in Volume 2. So it's going to be cool. They're playing in Belgium, Germany, Netherlands, England, Sweden, and in Japan as well. So really should be cool if you're in those areas. Starting November 20th in Belgium, ending in Osaka, Japan on December 14th. Unfortunately for me, of course, no U.S. dates, which makes a lot of sense. It's just not really feasible right now for a lot of artists to come into the U.S. and, would probably lose money for them and be difficult to make their way here. But I was able to see them on the Cruise to the Edge, so that's kind of the consolation prize. To be able to see them on that cruise is really why I like going on Cruise to the Edge, is because it's the chance for an American to see all these bands that you normally would never see because they just aren't able to tour the U.S. So I'm glad I got to see them there, but glad for the people who get to see them at these live dates on this 20th anniversary tour. Very cool for the band. Excited for their future and what's ahead. Himmelbach in Volume 2 was an absolute classic. Hopefully there's more brilliant material to come from them in the future. Third, I wanted to mention Steve Morse Band announcing a new album called Triangulation, and a new single as well from that record, Breakthrough, which is on my Prog singles list. Check the description for a YouTube playlist that contains all of the songs that I've been talking about this year so far. And this new album will be released on November 14th via Music Theories Recordings. And it's their first new music since the release of 2009's Outstanding in Their Field. Steve Morse, of course, a legendary figure in rock music. I know him a lot from his collaboration with Neil Morse and Mike Portnoy in the Flying Colours project, but I know he's been with Deep Purple for a stint. I don't believe he's with them anymore at this point, but just an incredible musician and guitarist, one of those virtuosos that people talk about as one of the greatest guitarists alive right now. So fantastic player, and this should just be fun music to listen to. I imagine it's probably mostly instrumental stuff, and he always plays with his colleague Dave LaRue, who is in Flying Colours with him and does the Steve Morse Band stuff together. They also did Dixie Dregs stuff together as well. And we've also got Van Romain on drums completing this lineup. So should be a lot of fun, a good record to check out if you're interested. So I'm excited for that one. Item number 4, Pink Floyd announced their 50th anniversary reissue of Wish You Were Here. This was their 9th studio album. And of course, one of the biggest, most important albums in all of maybe not just prog rock, but just rock in general history. Incredible record. The Shine On You Crazy Diamond suite that opens and closes the records is worth the price of admission alone. And it seems like this is going to have a whole host, this new 50th anniversary release, a lot of cool little rarities and demos and live stuff, just jam-packed with all kinds of material for Pink Floyd superfans to just gobble up and enjoy. So that should be a lot of fun. It's releasing on December 12th, released in multiple formats, including 3LP, 2 CD, Blu-ray, digital, and a deluxe box set. The digital release includes the original 1975 album featuring a new Dolby Atmos mix by James Guthrie. Also includes 25 bonus tracks made up of 9 studio rarities and 16 live recordings captured by the renowned bootlegger Mike Millard at Pink Floyd's Los Angeles Sports Arena concert on April 26, 1975. Now receiving its first official release, the live audio has been meticulously restored and remastered by Stephen Wilson. The Blu-ray edition features 3 concert screen films from the band's 1975 tour, plus a Storm Thorgerson's short film. The 3LP and 2 CD formats include the original album and the 9 studio bonus tracks, and the deluxe box edition includes all 2 CD, 3LP, and Blu-ray material, plus a 4th clear vinyl LP, Live at Wembley 1974, a replica Japanese 7-inch single of Have a Cigar, with Welcome to the Machine, and a hardcover book including unseen photographs, a comic book tour program, and Nieworth concert poster. So a lot of material there. Sorry for the long description, but if you're interested and wish you were here and want the 50th anniversary in one of those described formats, it's, I'm sure, available to pre-order now, coming out, like I said, on December 12th. A celebration of one of the biggest records in rock history. I think it's worthy of these deluxe editions. So that's exciting. And then I noticed that Jonas, Lindberg, and The Other Side announced new album time frames and a new single, Faces of Stone. This is a Swedish progressive rock outfit. This is the follow-up to their 2022 release, Miles from Nowhere, which I talked highly about on the channel. Just excellent retro symphonic prog, much in the style of like Flower Kings and Spock's Beard and Transatlantic, all of that stuff. It's very much in that style, but expertly done. This should be a really excellent record, very much in the same style and sound as the previous one. Looks like Jonas Lindberg did a lot of the material himself, trying to record everything that he could instrumentally on his own before involving his other collaborators, the other side, if you will. And looks like it's just going to be a fun record. Some lengthier tracks, starts with a 12-minute mini epic, End of the Road, ends with a 17-minute epic, The Wind. And it should be a lot of fun. This album comes out November 7th, and will be one I'm sure I talk about on the channel as well, since I'm a big fan of this project and the music they produce. So should be a really good one. So as for the singles list, we've got that Spock's Beard track, Invisible, Steve Morse Band's Breakthrough, Jonas Lindberg and The Other Side, Faces of Stone. So 3 locked in that I've already talked about. Also wanted to add Times Forgotten and their track Alight. This is a band from Costa Rica, a prog metal group, and I've really been enjoying their record. I've been listening to it already. It releases on October 4th on Melodic Revolution Records, so a little bit of a wait here, a little less than a month to go. But fantastic sound. I really like the band. I think they have a great melodic sensibility, and fit right in that like standard progressive metal wheelhouse that I really love and enjoy. So a lot of fun. Great track to kind of check out what the album's all about, and I'm sure I'll be talking more about that album in due time. And then there's a new live track from Beats. This is Baloo, Levin, Vi, and Carrie, their collaboration in doing some 80s King Crimson material. The track is Thila Hun Jinjit, a classic 80s King Crimson track. So if you want to see the live version from these masters of their instruments, it's a great live version of that track, and their new live record is coming out soon, September 26th. in 3 configuration, a 3 LP set, a Blu-ray release accompanied by 2 CDs, and a 12-page photo booklet, and lastly a limited collector's edition that will contain the Blu-ray, 2 CDs, a bonus CD, and a 30-page art book. So that's available for pre-order and will be coming out in a couple weeks. So very exciting stuff there. So that's really what I have for you guys today on the news front. Let me know, like I always say in the comments, if you came across any other news that you want to put out there and let people know about, and I'd be very happy to read it and be very grateful for your contributions. So thank you guys. As for the channel itself, I did, like I mentioned last week, I did a couple of reviews. I talked about Arjen Lucason's Songs No One Will Hear, which I really loved. I thought it was a cool, fun concept record from him. I talked a bit about Ilo's Legacy last weekend, which I think is one of the best prog metal releases of the year. Absolutely fantastic. Please check out that review. Me and Jana reacted to a Genesis song, Madman Moon, and it was a lot of fun to talk with Jana about that. So some really fun episodes on the channel that I hope you've been enjoying. This next, tomorrow, in fact, there's going to be another Prog Song Sunday episode with Jana, where we talk about a Marillion classic, so that should be a lot of fun. And I'm going to be doing possibly a review of Between the Buried and Me, talking a little bit about my feelings of this more progressive, harsh progressive metal style, and my feelings on harsh vocals in general. So that could be an interesting episode if you're curious about my thoughts on that. And, of course, another Prog Song shuffle episode on the future Sunday as well. So we're keeping that alive, trying to keep that as a Sunday feature. And of course another New Music Weekly and all the other stuff. So a lot of new albums coming out. I feel like we're starting to get like a pretty good stream of new albums after a little bit of a lull throughout the summer. So it's going to be a fun time to talk about some really excellent music, and really excited to talk with you guys. And hopefully you're enjoying the channel and everything that's going on here. So thank you guys, and I'll hopefully catch you in a future episode. Bye everybody, enjoy the music.